Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Total Football Talk. So we're going to look at the latest news and transfer news coming out of Manchester United. And how are we all feeling after last night's match? Where do you sit with the game? Some people think United did well in places and we dominated the game and maybe we should have won it. Some people are absolutely on the other side of the fence, completely negative, see nothing but the failures, especially in the forward line. I'd love to know what you guys think about. What did you think we should have got a result against Forest? Do you think we should have got something from the game? Did we deserve anything from the game? Were Forest the better team? Did Forest just defend better than us? Get your comments in below. I'd love to hear from you guys. It's a little bit of both. From the statistics showed that we were potentially, we should have got something from the game, but the eye test sort of tells me that we never really created too many clear-cut chances up front. And I thought that was a massive issue for us. Defensively, Yoro, Dalit, Mazraoui all had solid games. Didn't really do much wrong. Obviously, the goal's an issue, but take that out. They did okay. The rest of the team, just anything going forward. At times, there was little bits of slick passing in the first half, which, made us look good, moving the ball between the defence to the final third. But in the final third, we're dreadful. Garnacho, again, time and time again, the kid just wants to desperately shoot. He needs someone to help him. He needs a Roy Keane in there, like with Ronaldo back in the day, when he would absolutely, give him a rollicking for overdoing it. And Garnacho overdid it several occasions last night, shooting from angles that were always very, very difficult to score from. And head down, trying to get shots away without actually getting his head up and seeing if there's a better pass, and overrun a lap on the outside, maybe with Dogru, etc. So frustrating again. It's been the story of this season, absolutely unbelievably frustrating. But I'm going to go through the headlines and then we'll jump in and look at a few things. And obviously at the minute there's headlines that Manchester United are gearing up for a lot of activity with Jason Wilcox and the youth. I'll talk about why I think that's good and why I think that's a potential negative. We'll look at United being linked to Como's winger, another young winger, Assane Diao, and what that could potentially mean for Manchester United. We'll look at some of Rubin Amorim's comments. We'll look a little bit about Garnacho and Victor Osimhen, and a few other bits. But okay, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Keith, I'm the host, and all the likes and subscribes have been absolutely fantastic. If you guys could keep tapping that little thumbs up /like button, that would be excellent for me. Really helps me out. And half my people keep coming back to watch, which is absolutely amazing. But if it was possible for you to tap the old subscribe button, would massively help me out too. But thank you. But let's move on to the so this is coming from Academy Scoop, and he does a lot of work on the Stretford paddock. And he's very, very clued up with the youth side of Manchester United. And what he's saying is United's Academy recruitment department are gearing up for an ambitious summer transfer window as they look to bring in some of the country's biggest talents to Carrington. Primarily, work has begun for a number of highly rated players. They're hoping to be a competitive force in the market, comparable with the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea in recent years. Now, Manchester United, Manchester City, and Chelsea, even right now, bringing in the likes of Quenda and Gusto and Badiashile, and Chelsea have brought in a lot of young players. But what you're Endo as well, but what and Casado, Lavia, the list for players that go on and on and on. But the one thing that you're seeing with Chelsea, and is what massively concerns me about Manchester United, is, and it's kind of what the thumbnail talks about, you can bring in some of the best young talent, absolutely, Casado's absolutely, he's a brilliant midfielder, Lavia, brilliant, can't stay fit, Badiashile, when he was at Monaco, he was highly rated young defender. And for different reasons, these players have struggled. And look at Chelsea at the minute, started off the season really well, and now have kind of fallen off a cliff. Even Cole Palmer, who is an unbelievable player, done really well, has struggled a little bit. And this is the problem with bringing in loads and loads of young players. And this is what massively worries me. If we're going to bring in loads of young players, and as they're gearing up to be ready for a summer of youth, I'm massively worried about next season, because if we don't bring in some experienced players, and I'll look at the Osimhen Garnacho thing at the minute, in a minute, but if we don't bring in some experienced players to play alongside these players, we're going to be in the bottom half of the league again because we're going to struggle massively. We don't have enough experience in this team. We don't have enough goals in this team. And we're talking about bringing in the likes of Delap, funny enough, and bringing him in. And I just think that Rasmus's confidence is, little green shoots were coming back, but against teams that maybe you'd think he could score against. Last night, he just really couldn't get into the game when he came on as a sub. Xerxes didn't really work as a 9, struggled as a 10. Yeah, absolute nightmare. But I'm just concerned about this. So yeah, the Gibson Wilcox and all can go out there and be ready to bring in the youth, but it massively concerns me that if they do that, we are running a massive risk of more heartache and more sort of pain next season, if that's what we're relying on. Now, and again, sort of talking about that, there is I don't actually have it here. There was the Como winger, Assane Diao is another one that Manchester United are looking at. I don't quite have the still. I've watched him again, in flashes. He looks brilliant. But again, look at Dorgu last night on the left side. He's had a few good games. He's had a few games where he's kind of been in and out. Last night he was out. We bring in another right winger who can play on the right side. He's going to be in and out. There's no consistency to these young players, and this is going to absolutely crucify us. But let's see if anything comes from this Como winger, Assane Diao. Now, this is what Rubin Amorim had to say on Garnacho last night. Again, talking about another young player. He's making everything. He is making everything. He's trying. Sometimes you have one day that you're doing the right things, but in the final third, you're not that good, and not the good things can happen. The most important thing for me is that when he needs to get back, he's running back. So obviously, Rubin Amorim talking about his ability to play as a wing back and being able to get up and down, or as a 10 and being able to get up and down into that position. So he's doing the right things, and he's trying to get back. He's trying to up his work rate, which is brilliant, which is great to see that Rubin Amorim is appreciating that. But the final third, Garnacho, so frustrating. Gets the head down, beats his man, wants to get a shot away. Really, really, really sometimes needs to have a little bit of composure and find another pass. Dogru on the outside, Dallo on the outside, whoever is the wing back on the side that he's playing on. He needs to find a way to slip them in so they can put a ball across the box. And that's another reason why I think we need a striker with experience, because when that did happen on the few occasions that it did happen last night, there was no one in the box to try and tuck that ball into the back of the net, because we just don't have anyone at the minute who's capable of doing that. So Ruben is seeing the merits in Garnacho's work rate, but still very, very frustrating. Now, this is another story that was coming out, that Manchester United are, looking at a potential, they're looking at options, and Victor Osimhen, his wages are the obstacle, some kind of swap deal that would, make financial, palatable with Napoli, sort of holding an interest in Garnacho. Now, there was a story going around yesterday that Manchester United, and it's a swap deal of sorts, but Garnacho goes for 50 million and Victor Osimhen comes in for 60 million. And from FFP point of view, that just looks like a £10 million transfer. If they do a swap deal, due to the book value of Garnacho not being worth anything and the book value of Osimhen being worth 60 plus million, it is not good for our FFP and PSR. So, would you swap, even if it was money for money? Would you let Garnacho go, and would you bring Osimhen in at this particular stage? You look at Elanga last night, and I'll get on to what Rubin Amorim had to say about the Elanga deal in a second. But yeah, and this is again coming out from Chris Wheeler. Victor Osimhen is on Manchester United's radar, and that could feasibly involve a swap deal with Garnacho. But as I said, the swap deal may be money for money, but player for player, around the same kind of figures. So, would you do it? Would you swap Garnacho for Osimhen, whether it's money or not, and bring him in? I think we need Osimhen. Can Garnacho improve? And this is what Rubin Amorim had to say, and I think this kind of relates back to Garnacho as well. He asked if Anthony Elanga is performing well for Nottingham Forest, if it's hard to watch. No, they have to perform at Manchester United. You can't look at the players that go away. They had their chances at Manchester United, and I agree with that. I think that Elanga got played, he got overused, he didn't quite work for Manchester United. you could see that there was something there, but he didn't get the time to develop. He's gone to Forest, which was the right choice for his career, and he's gone on and he's done very well. He's developed into the player that he is, and he'll hopefully get better for them. Good kid, been at United for a long time. Unfortunately, just didn't quite make it mentally. Struggled with it. Ranić used to like playing him over Rashford, and that was interesting, but he just couldn't get the consistency, and he couldn't live up to the standard that you need to be at Manchester United. Unfortunately, the standard for Manchester United is on the floor right now, with our league position and clinging on to the Europa League for for absolute sheer life. So massive issues there, and I don't know. Rubin Amorim didn't have a say on Elanga, so I don't really see it being his problem. And Ineos didn't have a say on Elanga. I think he was moved on before they came in, and Forest got a good deal. Fair play to them, but again, United's prior board, absolute Forest, didn't know what they were doing. Should have got more from him at least. Should have maybe got a sell-on clause, because I don't even know if that's in there. So again, I don't think it's a relevant question for Rubin Amorim, because he wasn't there whenever that happened. And this was that. Yeah, so, and then you look at, this is what kind of we have to resort to, putting Harry Maguire up front last night. And the reason why he did this, said Ruben, I did it a lot with Sebastian Coates at Sporting. We needed a player who can score with his head, and Harry Maguire is that type of player. Harry Maguire is the best player in our team that can head a ball. Unfortunately, last night, the one chance that he did get with his head, he did put it wide of the post, and it was a tough chance given that. Couldn't really do much more, went up, tried to do a job. But it is Stoke FC for Manchester United. It was like kind of lob the ball into the box and hope to God that we could maybe nick a draw. And we nearly did, but that is that. And James Tucker has done a piece as well about players coming and going. And, people will debate the rights and wrongs of Manchester United selling academy graduates like Elanga, McTominay, Henderson, Welbeck, etc. One of the more sort of pertinent issues is that these players brought in to replace these kinds of players have been invariably not been an improvement. In some cases have been downgrades. Yeah, you can say that, but these players have gone on and kind of been released to the shackles and found new hunger and have done well. Danny Welbeck's had a good career. I wouldn't say he's gone on and lit up the entire world, but he has done very well, and he would have been a good servant for us. McTominay's doing okay in the Italian league, but again, different league, different circumstances. He's in a different type of team, maybe a team that maybe more suits him. But McTominay had his chances. Elanga had chances. Henderson had chances. Welbeck, had chances. They played at United for long enough to have their chances, and they didn't fully grasp them. So they deserve to get moved on, and rightly so for their own careers. Manchester United then brought in players, and they maybe haven't lived up to, this standard that we had hoped that these players would live up to. So we've got to go again. But we need to spend money, and I don't think bringing in a load of youth is going to be the way forward, coming full circle back to the start. If we do bring in the young players that they're potentially looking at, the Dibblings, etc., Delap, I think we're going to be in the same situation, because I think Rubin Amorim with this Sporting team maybe was in a league where he could allow young players to come in and be a bit more competitive. You're not going to get that opportunity in the Premier League because it's competitive from top to bottom. Maybe bar the bottom three teams, and even at that, they'll still cause you problems. All the other teams in the league are so far ahead of us right now. If we don't bring in Acuna and Osimhen, and a bit more experience, we are going to be in a world of pain next year, and I dread it. So on that, I shall leave it. The derby's coming up at the weekend. Maybe we'll turn up for that. We probably will. I think maybe Forest outfought us because they're desperate to play in the Champions League. We're a mid to low end of the table team fighting for nothing. They should be fighting for their shirts. They should be fighting for their lives, but they maybe didn't fight hard enough last night. Will they fight hard enough in the derby? I hope so, but then it's very frustrating if they do, because then it shows they can turn up for the big games. And Forest is a big game because they're in the top three, and they're a better team than us at the minute. And yeah, we'll have to just see where we end up with the derby at the weekend. But that's all your news. I'm Keith, and thank you for joining me. Hit the old like and subscribe. It would massively help me out, and I'll see you tomorrow.